Open letter signed by the attorneys general of 17 states, including our very own Illinois, Kwame Raoul, of course, calling on the federal government to issue a nationwide recall of Kia and Hyundai cars because they're too easy to steal.
Right. And as a result, I don't know about anybody else out there, but if you live in Chicago, your auto insurance just went up because of what's going on with Honda and Kia.
As people have perhaps seen or heard, there are videos on TikTok that show people how they can start Kia and Hyundai models of vehicles using only a screwdriver and USB cable.
Yeah.
You
can't get your insurance down. This is just a side note. If you remember the club? They literally, your insurance could go down $20 a month if you get the club, and they are handing them out at certain police districts. We're going back to prehistoric times.
We're going back to prehistoric times because we're suggesting that people who sell legal goods should recall those legal goods because of the illegal actions of criminals. So what's next? Are we going to have these same law enforcement officials from the same states? They're going to call on all retail stores to do what the Target in San Francisco did, which is every product is behind lock and key.
Can you imagine shopping like that? It would take hours.
Because
just order it online.
Because otherwise, at every retail establishment that doesn't have every item under lock and key, it's too easy to steal. As usual, the left has this exactly reversed. We reorganize society out of deference to criminals because in so many major cities in these largely blue states, there is not a desire to deal with endemic criminality, right? Right. And one attorney general who has come out in vocal opposition to this call for a nationwide recall is Chris Carr, who's the Attorney General of the state of Georgia. He joins us now. Attorney General Carr, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, thank you so much for having me this morning. I appreciate it.
So, you're just trying to get like a good lease deal from Kia or Hyundai, or why are you pushing back on this nationwide call for a recall?
Well, because it's completely backwards. I mean, Dan, you just pretty much laid it out. I mean, we are now blaming job creators for the actions of criminals rather than going after the criminals and holding them accountable. Well, that's just simply a roadmap for more criminality. And we're seeing it. Look, elections have consequences. And there is now a rift in the prosecutorial world. Those that want to enforce the laws that are duly passed by their state legislatures, signed by their governors, or even Congress, and those that don't. And the new criminal justice reform is, I'm not going to enforce the laws that I don't like. And if you look at this, the release that California put out, which, by the way, Kia's headquarters U.S. headquarters is in California. But if you look at this release, I mean, it's literally anything but prosecuting. It's blame shifting. It's look the other way. All the things that could be handled by actually going after the criminal that is engaged in this activity. And it will have the consequence of lowering crime rates. When you actually prosecute people that are breaking the law, they know not to do it. But this is an anything but prosecuting approach, and it's just wrong.
Well, here's the other aspect of this. The idea that companies don't have the primary interests in making products that people want to purchase. So in other words, Kia and Hyundai have every incentive if things like Amy said, if you buy a Kia or Hyundai and you know your insurance is going to go up, then that's going to discourage you from buying a Kia or Hyundai. So they have every incentive to make their vehicles as safe as possible, as roadworthy as possible, as impenetrable to theft as possible, much more so than some lawyer in Vermont who probably attended that school that Bernie Sanders' wife ran into the ground.
Well, you're exactly right. And again, I'm a free market guy, and we actually do have a Kia plant in Georgia, so I know that they have an interest in doing this. In fact, they've already sent, we were talking about, Back to the Future, they have sent 400,000 steering wheel locks. They have offered for folks to come in and they'll fix the software patch. But look, as a consumer, if you don't like what Kia has done, you can go buy a Toyota or a Ford or a Chevy. I mean, Chevy, you got plenty of options. I mean, that's what the power of the free market is. You can go vote with your feet. But to sit here and demand that the federal government issue a recall, as you said, on a legal product that, whether you like it or not, but it's a legal product, is absolutely the wrong approach, particularly when it's about avoiding prosecuting criminals. Again, I don't understand this. I really don't understand this new criminal justice reform where liberal prosecutors are literally afraid to confront criminals.
Well,
and elections have consequences. They have consequences. We're seeing it. You've seen it in Chicago. We're seeing it in Georgia in certain jurisdictions. Crime rates go up. It's absolutely perplexing to me why these DAs run. And look, if you don't like the laws, Dan and Amy, that's fine. But you run for the legislature. You don't run for district attorney, and you don't run for attorney general. It's wrong for one executive branch employee to decide, I don't like it, so I'm just not going to do it. That undermines our system.
Well, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised by this. I mean, this is the same philosophy behind people who want to sue gun manufacturers for people who use their legal product illegally. So it's the same philosophy. If something is happening with your product that we don't like, we don't go after the person who is behaving badly. We go after the company that's producing a product for which there is a useful legal purpose.
That's exactly right. And again, if concerned about break-ins, people that break into houses smash windows all the time. Why haven't home builders been sued for creating this, attractive nuisance, so to speak?
Yeah, right.
Look, it's an excuse. It's literally an excuse to not do the job that they've been elected to do. But again, I think it's a greater philosophy. This is, again, it's the new criminal justice reform. And the way the left has figured it out is if you can't get it done in Congress, if you can't get it done at the state house, let's go put our resources into electing district attorneys or even attorneys general, depending on how the state is crafted by their constitution. But let's go put resources into electing them and put pressure on them to not enforce laws that we don't like. But again, that's I think, ignoring the law, telling, like we've seen in other examples recently, the Biden administration, you've seen folks in Washington just say, hey, ignore the law, ignore the courts. Well, that undermines the system of government that we have. That is one of the greatest threats, I think, to America today, is to say, don't worry about the system that we've created and don't follow the rules.
Well, I know we're all about free speech here, but what about taking the how-to tutorial off of TikTok? I mean, I watched it too, and I thought, you know what? I could probably learn how to do that.
Absolutely. Look, and again, I wish there, some of the times these platforms would be willing to work with law-abiding citizens and take these things down. And again, I'm with you. I'm about free speech, but if a private company works with another private company to make sure that you do something that's going to keep everybody safe, that's not the government taking away your right to stand on the street corner and disagree with the laws that are passed. That's the purpose, of the First Amendment, is the government shutting down speech.
Hey, while we have you, Attorney General Carr, this summer, Fulton County, Georgia, could be the next stop on the Trump hit parade. Do you have any view on Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA, and the investigation into Trump's alleged election tampering from 2020, how that plays out, and what the reaction will be from the political and legal establishment in Georgia if she moves to indict President Trump? Yeah,
well, I was one that had to go before the grand jury, so I got to be a little bit cautious about, what I say. But, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is again, not blame shift. We've got jobs to do, whether we're DAs or attorneys general. We got to go out and do those jobs. I mean, again, a lot of what's happened in New York or in Fulton County just looks very, very political at times, and we got to be cautious about doing it. But again, at the end of the day, we've got jobs that we've got to do, and the jobs that we've got to do are keep the people of our state safe, people in our districts safe. And that's what DAs and attorneys general have been elected to do, and I think we should be focusing on making sure that we do that.
Do you have any prognostication on whether or not he gets indicted?
I don't know. I have no insight on that. That would be with the DA to make that determination. And she said it will happen sometime between July and September.
Very good. He is Chris Carr. He's the Attorney General for the great state of Florida, the Peach State. Chris Carr, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with both of
Georgia.
you. Thanks for having me on.
Dan lives in Florida. He's stuck in Florida.
What are you talking
You
about?
said the great state of Florida.
Oh, did I say the great state of Florida?
Georgia.
Great state of Georgia, the
Yes,
Peach
and my
State.
son's coming back from Georgia Tech. So
The Ramblin' Wreck.
Ramblin' Wreck, yes.
Yeah, all right, Yellow Jacket.
That's a great school, but I got to remind everybody, University of Georgia now has won back-to-back national championships. So go Dogs!
Go pet your Bulldogs.
By any chance, are you a University of Georgia graduate? By any chance?
I'm twice. I'm what's called a double dog, undergrad and law school.
Very good. All
It
right.
sounds like
Double
Ted
dog.
Lasso. You're a double dog. Yeah.
All right,
All
Attorney General
right.
Carr, thank you so much.
Thank you both. Great to be with you.
Yes, God bless. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature